All right. So I built a spreadsheet because that's kind of what I do when I need to make a decision. And this is a spreadsheet that will help determine whether you should buy a gas vehicle, an electric vehicle, a hybrid vehicle. At a minimum, it'll help you understand the cost savings potentially and some other variables. So this video is going to be relatively quick, just kind of walk you through the spreadsheet, which is available over here at on my blog, as well as this video and all that. So first up, we have some global variables, right? So this section here, just fill in things like the miles driven per year, the price of gallon per gas, the number of years total. You kind of want to look at this potential cost savings. Charging efficiency is pretty typical. It's around 85% right now for most electric vehicles, meaning, even if you're fully charged, you're going to get about 85% of that charge. So you probably want to leave that there. And then my electric company, I'm in San Diego, has two options, right? The first option is I pay 24 cents per kilowatt hour. I know it's crazy expensive, and $0 flat fee. Or I can get a discounted per kilowatt hour amount with a $16 per month flat fee. So I labeled these option one and option two, which we'll leave later. And just for clarity, I've got a legend here, right? So it sort of shows you that green are inputs, right? These are values that you're going to insert. The light gold is just a math calculation. And then the darker gold means that it pulled it from these global variables up here. So now I'm going to go down the list here and just kind of explain to you what this spreadsheet is doing. So first up, you're going to pick your vehicles. First one is kind of your baseline, whatever you want to use for a baseline. For me, that's gas only. And I just chose a Grand Cherokee Limited. Electric one, I've done a Model 3 long range, and I've done a Model 3 standard, and I've done a Jeep 4xe hybrid. Now, the reason I've got long range in here twice and Tesla in the standard Model 3 in here twice and the 4xe in here twice is because of my different electrical San Diego Gas and Electric options. So this one is long range with option number one from up here. This is the long range with option number two. And we'll show you what that all means down the road and all that. Okay, so next we're going to put in just gas data. Now, again, these dark gold ones are pulled from up here. So if you drive 10,000 miles a year, all these numbers will automatically update for you. Same with the price of gallon per gas. Now, vehicle mile per gallon, this is from the Jeep website, 20 miles per gallon. Same with the 4xe. You could come in here and say, I'm a bit of a lead foot, so I don't think I'm going to get as good a mileage, or vice versa. But for now, we're going to leave those as is. Number of years that we're doing this calculation over. And so now it starts doing some math. First thing is, how many gallons are required to go 8,000 miles per year? So you need 400 gallons, which will cost you $2,400 a year. And if you math that out by 5 years, costs you $12,000, right? And, because we're dealing with the same miles per gallon here, we're going to have the same prices here. Now, if I went back to that 18, you would see that my costs would change, okay? But we're going to leave those at 20 for now. Now you want to go into the electric data. Now, obviously for the Tesla, there's no miles per gallon here, right? There's no gas data involved. So now we want to do electric data, right? For the gas only vehicle, does not apply here, so you leave that blank. Tesla long range is 82 kilowatt hour battery and 353 miles of range. The standard is 50 and 263, and then the 4xe is 17 and 22 miles. So now we're looking at the dollars per kilowatt hour, the flat fee per month if it exists, right? And as you can see, because I selected number two here, it populated 10 cents and $16 per month. Whereas if I select number one, it's populating 24 cents and $0 per month. If I were to change this to two, it would automatically change this as well. Okay, charging efficiency all comes through. Again, all of this comes from up above. So now you can do some math on what does it take, just based on this row alone, the dollars per kilowatt hour, What does it take to charge this vehicle? So the Tesla 3 long range with option number 1 for my electric company, $16 to fill it up. $7 with option 2. $10 for the standard, and a little over $4 for the standard with electrical option 2. The 4xe takes $3.50 and $1.50 depending on the plan that I use from my electric company. And then here's the flat fee per year, which we don't really take into account until later on, but we do the math here so you can see what it is. Now, what we want to do is break this down into cost per mile, right? The gas engine costs 30 cents per mile. This Tesla here is, almost 5 cents a mile, so it's quite a bit cheaper. This one is 2 cents a mile, but remember, we're going to have to add in this $16 a month later, which we do down the road. The other Tesla is around 4 cents a mile and 1.5 cents here. The 4xe has both of them, right? So it's 30 cents if you're using gas, and it's 16 cents if you're using electricity. And, you'll notice that 16 cents per mile is a lot more expensive than the Tesla. And that's really because this vehicle is probably a lot heavier. It's a big box, so it's less efficient going down the road. So it, costs a little bit more to drive this with electricity. So now we're going to determine, and we're going to pick how much gas we're going to use per vehicle and how much electricity we're going to use for a vehicle. For the gas one, it's 100% and 0%. For the Teslas, which are all electric, it's the opposite. But for the 4xe, which is a hybrid, you could do any hybrid here at all that you want. I'm going to say 15% of the time I'm going to use gas. So this is a commuter. I only get 22 miles out of a charge here. So I'm just driving around the neighborhood and I'm charging it as soon as I've done that. So I'm going to say 85, 15. Obviously, you can change it. Just change the top one and it'll change the bottom one for you if you're more 50-50 or something else. So now what we get is an average cost per mile, which takes in both gas and electric and your usage that you're going to do of each. Now, the gas and the electric, they're not going to change much. The one that's going to have an average is the hybrid in this case, right? So you can see 18 cents per mile and 10 cents per mile. Now, again, if I were to change this, maybe I'm more 50-50, right? Those numbers are going to go up a little bit. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to actually look at the savings, because we know with this gas engine, this gas vehicle, you've got $2,400 in cost per year that you're going to spend on gas. So now what we do is we compare versus that. And the Tesla, ironically, does not matter if it's the long range, the standard, or whether I'm using option 1 or option 2 for my electric company. I'm saving about $2,000 out of that $2,400 in expense. So that's interesting to know that any of these options are going to save me about the same amount of money. Now, the Jeep's a little bit different, right? On electricity plan number 1, I'm going to save about $1,000, about half of the Tesla. And again, this assumes that 85% of the time I'm using just electricity on this Jeep. And then with plan number 2, I noticed that I'm actually going to save about $1,400 per year. Then, of course, it's going to math it out over, the 5-year period that we selected above. And you can see how much money you will save over that period of time, right? About $10,000 on the Teslas and anywhere from, almost $5,000 to $7,000 for the Jeep. And then the last line here is where you put your cost of vehicle in here in this row. And what it does is it says, okay, if this vehicle costs me, and for the Teslas, I added the full self-driving $12,000 option. So it got these vehicles a lot more expensive. You can plug in here whatever you want. And then what it does is it says, well, I'm going to save $10,000 over 5 years. So the effective cost of that vehicle is now $55,000. Right? For the Jeep, if it came down to, this is a nicely loaded one. I took out the discounts on MSRP that I can get, and I took out the $7,500 what do you call it, tax savings from the federal government that still exists for this. And so here's that pricing. And you're going to save almost 5,000, and so your cost is here. So what you end up with is kind of a baseline comparing over a 5-year period of time. What are these vehicles going to cost, right? Which one makes most sense? And we've got them, the lowest one is this $48,000 Model 3. You've got the gas one that's a little more expensive, and then the higher end Tesla, which is more expensive. And the Jeep is, kind of in the middle to the low range of those. Now, I could say, hey, I'm going to keep this vehicle longer, so I'm going to change this to 10 years. And it does all the math all the way through. And you can see your numbers change here, right? So now you're at 37,000, you're at 43 here, 47 here, 49. So you can start to see how that value and that amount of savings on gas adds up over time. So that's kind of the summary. That's it. You might just say, you know what, I drive more miles. I'm a road warrior. I'm putting 20,000 miles on this vehicle a year. I think the price of gas is only going to be 5 over that 10-year period, because you're kind of doing an average here. And so you can see again how your numbers change, right? Look at the cost of the vehicle and look at ultimately the savings for you. Now, if the vehicle is just going to be, maybe you're only doing 4,000 miles a year and you think gas is going to be, maybe you think it's going to be $7 average over the next 10 years, because who knows where that's going to land. You can kind of see what those savings are and where those dollar values land. So you've got options. You can make it work however you think it fits for you and your style and your duration that you want to keep it. Obviously, you can change if you have multiple plans from your electric company. Plug those in here, and it will obviously change. If your price per kilowatt is only 15 cents and there's no flat fee, that's going to give you some better savings, right? That's going to change those numbers pretty dramatically. Anyway, that's it. If you have any questions, hit me up at Al Bashara on Twitter. The original post and this video are located on my blog at al.bashara.com. Let me know what you think. Give me some feedback. Happy to keep updating this. You are able to download and make a copy of this Google spreadsheet into your own Google network so that you can have your own copy and do what you want with it. But again, let me know if you'd like any changes, if you see if I did anything wrong, if you'd like some new stuff added in, happy to do so. All right. Cheers.